good evening, good people. Yes, yes, yes. This is your boy Chancey Haywood and of Men Speak. And as you can see, I got tonight. Yes, sir. So I got Marquis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got Coach Cheese.
Sir, yes, sir.
I got Miss Tamara. And I got Miss Ingram. So, family, tonight we start a new series. And I don't know if it's gonna be a series, but we're gonna talk about this thing tonight. So tonight, our topic is a woman's intuition. Now, I'm not gonna give you no details. I ain't gonna give you nothing. You just got to tune on in and join, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and come on join us tonight, because this one's gonna be nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Marquis, kick us off, brother.
All right. What's up, people? So, all right. So the way we started, we was trying to figure out, okay, what direction we was gonna go in, and after our series that we just finished up, right? And of course, us the fellas, we always sending texts out to one another. We always doing a lot of deep diving with dialogues and reels and stuff that we come across. And we came across this reel about a brother at a conversation event asking about, he talked about a woman's intuition. And without further ado, we're gonna ask Miss Ingram to cue that so you guys can see what direction we going and what questions we gonna ask tonight.
All right, just a moment.
Yes, Lord.
Oh.
So okay, all right, we queuing it. So as we get ready to cue this, all right, we're gonna ask the women.
Why can't you tell when he's unhappy?
Can you play that again?
Yes.
Real quick, do y'all believe in women's intuition?
Hell yeah.
If you can feel that your man is cheating, why can't you tell when he's unhappy?
Hey, one more time. One more time. One more time. One more time.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes, one more time. So yeah.
Tamara, why that sounded like you though?
Say that again.
That sounded like you. Kitty Rose.
Oh, what? That was talking
Yeah, yes.
in the video.
So ladies, question from both of you. Y'all don't have to speak at the same time or too soon. However, what is the woman's intuition? That's the question. From your perspective, what is a woman's intuition? And how does it serve you? And give us like some of your experiences with that.
I'll let you go, Tamara, first.
Okay. So a woman's intuition is basically her having a hunch or a feeling that something is amiss in her relationship, or something's wrong, or that man is stepping out, which is valid in a lot of instances, especially I feel like in marriages, because when you've been with someone for so long, you can tell when something's off, right? But honestly, I feel like from a broken woman's perspective, you can't trust your intuition if you're in a new relationship, because that intuition is really coming through a filter of brokenness. And if you've always been cheated on, even if you were a good guy, you're gonna feel like you're being cheated on, right? So I don't feel like it's okay to go off of just intuition. I feel like you gotta have facts. Number one, you know what I'm saying? And you gotta catch him in something. Now that's just with the intuition. However, I do feel like you can tell, and not just from a feeling, you can tell through a man's actions that something is different. So it's not always going to be based off of feeling, I think, because when we go off of feelings, we can be misconstrued, right? But when you just going off of actions, If a man's cheating, you are going to be able to pick up on that just because of his actions changing, especially when you're used to him being a certain way, right? But then the other part of that, what he said, what I really didn't appreciate is why can't we tell when he's cheating? The majority of the time, we can tell. But when we ask and when we come to you, woman, to my man, and I'm coming to you, you say nothing's wrong. You say, oh, baby, you tripping. You say, oh, baby, you try to make her feel like she's crazy for asking questions that she feels within her and she can tell from his changed actions. So then a lot of times we're trying to open up that communication, but you are articulate enough to even say that something's wrong. Or you just want to keep playing your games and keep active. But a lot of times women are trying to figure out what's wrong and we're coming to you and we're asking you. And a lot of times you guys aren't being honest. You aren't able to articulate what's happening. Because a lot of times when men can't articulate something, they just don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna just let Tiger go.
All right, Miss Ingram, what you got?
Well, Tam pretty much summed it up. But what I will contribute to that is because your question was, what is a woman's intuition? I would think it's an inner knowing. It's just an inner knowing. For us believers, when we talk about being prompted by the Holy Ghost concerning some things, it's similar to that. It's a prompting on the inside that alerts you to something. The clip made reference to specifically cheating, but I would take it a little bit further and say that inner knowing would also prompt me to whether or not my partner is unhappy, if my partner is stressed, anything regarding my partner. It's an inner knowing. It's an inner prompting.
So you saying that it should be an inner prompting, because from the experience
It should be.
okay, hold up, before I go there, hold up. I got to go back to Tam and then I got to come back to you.
Okay.
It should we're gonna remind me that it should be an inner prompting so I can go further with that. But
okay,
let's talk about Tam said something. I think both of you are right. For instance, of course I'm not a woman, but I'm seeing it from both perspectives, and I can agree with what both of you said. Because based upon our subconscious, based upon our trauma, based upon our experience, we can put something out there and see things from a dirty lens, and it really not be, what I'm saying, what it is. And then also we can also be sensitive and actually feel, and that is what it is. So my question is, Tam, give us one of your experiences where your intuition came in and you was on point, and then give us an example of your experience when your intuition was saying one thing and you was off.
Oh my goodness. Dang. Okay, so I could definitely say now, in the situation that I'm in now, um, yeah, I may have had a thought about something happening and was totally off. And I had to check myself and be like, wait a minute, this guy isn't like the other guys. You know what I'm saying? You need to chill. You need to not present with these different things, because then I become a red flag. You know what I'm saying? It be when you start bringing up things that don't even exist, then that's a red flag. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I have to check myself before I even come to that. So I wouldn't say that was. I would definitely say that was my intuition being skewed just um based off of my trauma, I guess you could say. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Am I breaking up? Okay. Okay. And then, okay. So when I was pregnant with my second son, and I honestly can't say that was intuition. I was young. I just knew something was off. Maybe it was intuition, but I went off his actions. I'm a more so like see it to believe it type of person. You know what I'm saying? So I went off his actions. He was acting different. You know, he wasn't calling as much. He wasn't coming by as much. You know, and then when I went to pull up to where he was at, then I saw it for myself. So I guess that's intuition, or more so just me just acting off of how he was acting. But yeah, that's
Okay, that sounds
yeah.
to me that sounds like that was more of an observation and
Yeah,
understanding the
yeah, I
person
can't
reading
really
energy.
say that I've yeah, I can't really say that I've had intuition moments. Um, yeah, I'll really have to do some hard thinking on that. But yeah, I'm a pull up type of chick. Even if I have a thought, I'm a pull up to go see first
My
before
girl.
I make any assumptions. I don't like to assume. So I don't like to assume and I don't like to guess. So yeah, but
I'm sure that all
yeah.
your chat response, answer response.
All right, Miss Ingram, what you got?
What was the question?
Okay, the question is, give us an example of when your intuition kicked in and it was right, and then give us an example when your intuition kicked in and you was totally off.
Mm, okay, and both instances can happen. They can.
Right? Yeah.
Something Samara said in the beginning when she first answered was, we filter it from our previous experiences or from past experiences.
Hmm.
So whether that is to intuition or not is kind of difficult to say. However, I do recall an instance where um, I'm completely into what I'm into, person that I'm into. I'm not considering anything that I've experienced in the past. And um, listen, I mean no harm by this. I really don't. I think this individual became cocky in how they were moving and thought
Mm,
that they were really discreet. And
mm.
so they made subtle changes. And those subtle changes become a red flag. You're looking like, you ain't never did that before. You've never moved
That's
like that.
different. Yep. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that will, you know, spark a little interest, cause you to look a little bit harder, a little bit longer, and then you begin to investigate. Basically, what Tamara just said. That looks a little strange. That's a little bit different. So let me delve a little deeper in that to see what's going on.
Hmm.
There has been times that, as I was previously saying, I'm in something, not considering what I've been through in the past, but the individual was moving a little bit different. And sure enough, there was something going on. I would ask, as Tamara mentioned earlier too, and you would get a, no, ain't nothing happening. There's nothing. What you talking about? You know, this one main question. What you talking about? What's wrong with you? This,
Deny,
that.
deny, deny.
Yes, a deny. And try and flip this thing back on you like
Oh
it's
yeah.
not.
Hmm.
It's you. So I have had an instance where intuition says this is what's happening, and that did happen. On the flip side, unfortunately, when so many things happen, or when it has happened to me on multiple occasions, then you will begin to become insecure. And so moving on into something new, then you're already coming in with this preconceived notion that this person is going to move sideways. And so you will begin to project and accuse when there's been
Hmm.
no justifiable reason to do so.
Right.
All right, so now when we talking about intuition, just a few minutes ago, because we know men mostly and women know us in so many ways that we're a lot of us are routine. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Most men are routine. So like it sounds like to me that because things shifted just a little bit, you became suspicious, and because you're women, you gonna you gonna try to thoroughly investigate whatever that may look like. You know
What's
what I
the
mean? Um, so now I'm going to the definition where it says what intuition it says the ability to understand something immediately, I guess when it happens, without the need for conscious reasoning. It says instinct. It says the sixth sense. Yeah. So like the second sight of something. So for me, it sounds like from my understanding on what I was thinking is that intuition was not necessarily based upon how an individual move. It's based upon what you feel, what you're sensing.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
I did respond to your first question. I said it's an inner knowing.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like a person. It is.
Right. I get that. But what both you just explained was the move, the how a person started moving first, and then that prompted certain things.
Mhm.
If I'm still moving the same way and I'm routine, right, and I don't miss a beat, in my thought, intuition would be something is off. You still moving the same, but something is off. You see what I'm
That
saying?
so. I would agree with that. That would be so. And again, like I said, I've been in a situation where I'm in his presence. We just chilling or whatever. And intuition would go, something is off. This is not necessarily anything to do with cheating because our intuition doesn't just kick in because
About cheating, yeah, yeah.
about cheating.
Emotionally, you can. Mhm.
And I think men seem to think that's the only reason why we have intuition to alert us if he's cheating or not. I don't know if that's guilt or what, and I'm not saying that's either of you. However, our intuition is not just to alert us that infidelity is going on. So anyway,
Right.
I'm in the presence of this individual, and yeah, my intuition says something is not right, and I will say, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And again, still, I guess being responding how men do, wanting to handle their situation themselves, I would get there's nothing going on. Right then, the response would be there's nothing going on. But a little bit later, maybe a day or so, they would go, "Yeah, when you asked me, yeah, this was going on, blah blah blah." So, and I don't. It almost seems like we need a confirmation, and we don't. Let us be who we are to you. If our intuition is prompting us that something is going on with you, and we ask, allow me to be your safe space.
I
See,
know that's right.
that's another thing though. Like you gotta prove that you a safe place. You know, especially when it's been proven you not beforehand. All right. So what I was about to ask. Okay,
Why
so
you still with her?
the video clip.
That's
The
why I was
video
going.
clip. What'd you say?
She said, "Why you sit with her?"
Why
Okay.
you still with a woman that isn't giving you a safe space? That's what we're supposed to be for each other.
Okay. Hey, we gotta.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Remind.
interjected my
Hey,
bad.
don't forget that part now. So now with the video, the video said the dude experienced. Okay, she can tell if I'm off a little bit, but why can't she tell I'm happy? I'm happy. So with that, whether he say he's unhappy or not, shouldn't a woman be able to pick up on his unhappiness? And I'm gonna pause with the females real quick, fellas. What y'all got? What are y'all thoughts and what y'all want to chime in with?
That's what I want to get to, because typically when you even talk about a woman's intuition, it's normally given a negative connotation.
Yeah.
It's normally about something that she suspects him of doing wrong, cheating, all of those types of things. And somebody made a comment in the chat, I think is relevant to the conversation as well. We'll get to that though. But you hardly ever hear dialogue or conversations or it referenced in a positive way. Or when I say
Mhm.
positive, I mean when uses her intuition to recognize, like the man said in the video, when he's hurting or when he's not happy or when, you know, things are off in the relationship, you know what I'm saying, as a whole, just as opposed to, oh, when he messing up, he must be doing something. Because how do you know? I mean, like, especially if he, like you said, if he's not moving any differently, my intuition, I just know something is off. I know something is like what Tamara said, something is awry, you know. But why can't that same intuition tell you when something is going on with your man that we need to fix or we need to address, and not stepping out?
It seems to me if we use this woman's intuition to voice our concern or suspicion that you may be cheating, you will respond to that immediately by, I'm not cheating, it's something wrong with
Defensive,
you.
yeah.
But if we use that same intuition to go, hey, I feel like something ain't right. What's going on with you? I'm saying you, but of course I'm not meaning you all specifically, but the response is typically, no, I'm good. There's nothing wrong. It's slow to that. You're slow to respond. And then when you do respond, it's nothing's wrong. But if we're popping off real quick saying our intuition or inferring that our intuition is saying that you're cheating, then you're popping off just as quickly to defend yourself. So it's not that we don't use that intuition to feel where you are. Still, you guys are not responding to it. You're not responding as quickly to let us know, yeah, babe, you're right. Something is wrong. That's not the case for everybody. But
so I can while a person is talking, can everyone put their mic on mute, please? But to address that, as far as a male is concerned, of course we're gonna when we're accused of something, we're gonna respond right away. All right. But when there's a problem, most of the time we would say that, you know, we good at that moment because we're processing what the issue is. I know for me, you know what I'm saying, I can't necessarily pinpoint exactly what it is, but I'm processing it so I can actually communicate thoroughly what it is that's going on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's for me because I feel like I think I'm able to voice and communicate. But what about the fellas that's not able to put words to, you know what I'm saying, where they are?
Interesting thought.
I think that depends on, like you said, that depends on the person and the relationship. Because, like I told you guys last week, I'm the communicator. I always have been. My wife initially was the introvert. I've always been the extrovert. So communicating was never the issue for me. It was the reverse for us. So I think it all depends on the person and the relationship.
I agree.
Chap, where you at, Chap? When you heard from you?
Man, I'm just taking it all in. But to your comment, Ms. Ingram, I think that when men are approached inside of a relationship, now, I'm talking about a relationship that we've been and we're sustaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the context I'm gonna put this in. But when a man tells you and you notice something's wrong with a man and he says nothing, the fact that you saw him opens him up. To your comment, Ms. Ingram, I think that when a man, so even though he says nothing, inside of that nothing is, okay, she sees me, right? And so even though it may, like Keith was saying, even though it may take time for him to, how am I going to communicate this to her? At least she can see that there's a problem. I know for me, it's very, how do I say this? It's very refreshing, even though I'm going to tell you nothing. That's just a nothing at the moment. And when it comes to like inside of relationships, we have to understand the language that the other person speaks. My nothing is a whole lot, you know, because when you come back around, you probably pull another layer off the onion, you know, but the fact that you saw me and I got to say nothing, you know, the fact that you actually brought this conversation to the table, it speaks volumes, even though I don't have volumes to speak at the moment. You know, the fact that you would see that and say, hey, you know, you know, I'm talking about for men and what that means, you know, inside of something that's real, not boys playing or none of that. But when a man says, "Oh, nothing," you know, he's really trying to understand, how am I going to convey this? How am I going to convey that I almost lost my job, or this is happening? We really try to process it on our own first, and that's just understanding a man versus a woman. Women, I know you know, when the conversation is had on, you know, if we ask the same question, women, you're more emotional than us, so you'll probably give us the answer right off the top, right? You know, you'll probably say, "Hey, baby, yeah, this is what's going on. This is what happened. This is how it happened. Blah blah blah. We got this. We got X. We got Y. We got Z." Now we are used to just fixing those things. We're not used to anybody fixing things for us, right? So it's harder to tell you when I'm hurting, because I'm used to guarding. And so a lot of times I know I was misinterpreted. And I can just speak from personal experience. My nothing was misinterpreted, not because there was any infidelity. It was just a misinterpretation of my nothing. So I think at the brass tacks of it all, at the roots of it all, is understanding my language is just as important as knowing what your intuition is.
Hey, so what I also want to add to that is the processing. The processing is the bigger picture, right? The processing is not just me communicating, but it's how I communicate and how you respond to how you're gonna respond to the way I'm communicating. So I gotta process, you know what I'm saying, all of this. For instance, like you talk, like Aaron says, unfortunately, there's very few safe spaces. I mean, Tam, I mean, there's quite a lot of relationships that I know that a lot of men, you know what I'm saying, are not safe in certain spaces with their, and I ain't just talking about marriages. We talking about relationships, period. Um, because there's more relationships out there than just marriage relationships, between male and female. So I know a lot of people that's not safe with their significant others,
That's
because
unfortunate.
they you know what I'm saying. And so, like, when we talk about the processing aspect of a male, we have to process, can you handle this? How we deliver the truth, because even if you ask me and I'm raw with it, like, for instance, a female could just come out with where she is with all the raw emotion. If a male does that in a lot of relationships, it's not taken well. It's like how he's talking, and also the male can feel like he's putting a certain weight on her too. So he has to be mindful of what he says, how he says, and what he shares in many cases. I hope I wasn't talking too much.
I think a lot of that is by observation, if I may. A person, they can hear your action more than they can hear your words. And when you create that space for somebody to feel that way, um, it's by observation. Like, you can observe a person enough to know that I can talk to him or her. But if you observe a person to know, and you can see how they are, and you can say for yourself, they ain't going. So what do I do with that? And that's that unsafe thing that we're talking about. You've been with somebody long enough, you can know you know what, when they ain't going, and you can know what they're gonna actually sit down and have an adult conversation with you, which speaks to a whole nother thing. But I think that just by observation, somebody should give. Don't call me a king and treat me different. Don't call me a queen and treat me different. You should know you're a queen just by how I respond to you. And I should know the same thing. And if you get something different, that's that unsafe space that we create. And it's kind of harder to communicate when something big happens. Like, you can communicate why we're not going out this weekend, but you can't communicate when the mortgage is due. Two different things. And I think it's all about how we observe and how the other person is when they interact towards us. I hope I'm making sense.
What you got, Chancellor? Miss Tam, you got something?
Um, I, I, I guess I just need to go back to this safe space part. How much do you love yourself when you're willing to stay in a place that's not safe? With like I don't that part to me is mind blowing that people stay in spaces that's not safe for them. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's emotionally, it's unfortunate. But the other thing is you choose if you've noticed just going off of what not Chancey, this one up here in the corner. What's the
Chat.
other guy's name? Chat. Okay, going by what he said as far as you can tell from being with this person that there's somebody I could talk to. You can observe that kind of in the beginning. Why, if you observe that that person is not somebody that you can talk to, why continue? I don't know. That's just my.
Why are you laughing, Chancey?
Because I'm laughing because it's a lot of people's reality. It's not funny in that sense, but it's so many people's reality. I counsel, and I hear it all the time, and it happens on both sides, right? People do things for so many different reasons. Some people do it. It's like it's a balancing beam. So I'll take the security over not being safe. I'll take the consistency of knowing the lights are gonna be on. The rent is gonna be paid, and my kids have somewhere to lay their heads over him not being or her not being somebody that I can go and pour my heart out to. I got friends I can talk to take care of that need, and it baffles me too because I don't have that, and I can't. Personally, I can't fathom being in that kind of relationship, but I see it and I hear it all the time on both sides. So I'm laughing, but not laughing at anyone, but I'm laughing because it happens more often than not.
So, question. Hey, thank you, Miss Nikki Tiller and Aaron Wells. Thank you guys for tuning in. So now we always talk about a woman's intuition, right? Can a man have an intuition? Because I didn't see anything in this definition saying that that this is just catered to women. It says the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So is it possible that a man can have intuition? Are all of us capable of having this?
Yeah, man, come on now.
Yeah.
Of course. That's just discernment. That's how I look at it. It's
Yeah.
discernment. You know what I mean? And I think we all have that. I had it. I experienced it. I'm sure we all experienced it. But my deeper question is, I think Tamara mentioned it earlier. Golly, keep going. I remember. Keep going.
Is it
You'll
about
come back to me.
is it about why? Like why we still in these places not safe, or about why looking at the individual's actions and making a decision and it alarms us as far as the intuition? That was
It
it?
was about what Chap said about the actions. Because when I had that, when I reflect back on that moment when I had it, it was because of what I saw. It was because of what I observed, what caused the thought or the intuition to even come up because of what I saw. It was the way she was moving was different. It was so it was so out loud to where I couldn't deny it. Like there was no question that something was awry, because the movements were so out loud. I knew, and when I went to her and asked her, of course, yep, it was something off, and but then I was upset because, and it kind of goes back to the question: how can you see one thing but not see the other? And that's exactly where I was. I was, well, y'all know my story. I was doing all this stuff for the Lord, and going and moving and operating and doing all this stuff, but I couldn't see my home was broken. My relationship was broken. And I couldn't see that because I was so busy doing the Lord's work. So how could my intuition, have me on this path, but then I missed this? So it kind of goes back to the original question of the whole episode.
So all right. So it sounds like, are you saying that you had tunnel vision?
I did.
Are you saying that you had tunnel vision and you were so focused on doing what you needed to do? You had tunnel vision and you were so focused on doing what you needed to do, because I mean, one of the main things that I'm just pulling up from Miss Denise is she said also goes back to being in tune emotionally with your partner. So
Right.
You could have been at that moment you were so in tune with what was going on, you wasn't in tune emotionally. So
Yeah.
when that's that thing, that when that it wasn't necessarily intuition that did it, and that's why I'm trying to differentiate the two as far as the way somebody move that catches my eye to cause me to think and feel, or the lack of them being consistent and me actually just feeling what's going on. And that's what I'm feeling that intuition is, opposed to, because see, you was not connected at that moment emotionally, but something happened that spoke so loudly that, okay, it caught your attention. To now, I'm able to identify something is going on over there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But see, that goes back to balance. We can't be so heavy on one side, and then we got to have balance in all things. We have to have that. So that's what allows us to be able to be in tune or sense when things are off or whatever the case may be. Balance is the key in all things.
Right, but I mean, the thing about it is, even though you wasn't in tune at that time, something caught your eye to get your attention.
But because we was out of balance.
Right. Miss Ingram, you got anything?
I'm just listening and trying to keep in mind what the video was depicting, which made it seem like women don't use intuition, or either don't have intuition, or the inability to pick up when something is wrong with their partner. And I think Chance alluded to this earlier, or actually he did allude to it. He brought it up while saying, when we talk about a woman's intuition, unfortunately, it does come with this negative connotation. But with everything that you all just mentioned, being out of balance, being emotionally attached or unemotionally attached for a moment, you get very comfortable with where you are, and perhaps this a nano of a second in time, we are not emotionally connected. So we miss something. We may miss something. But then again, there are times that we are emotionally connected and we could still be wrong. We can't base it solely off of actually what we see or what we don't see, but we cannot either ignore signs. I think that would just be immature to ignore a difference in how your spouse moves. You can be wrong, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to call you out on it. You've never done this before. Why are you doing this?
Hey, Chap, what you got, man?
Man, yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing here. I do believe that. It works both ways. In relationships, if you're not intentional about that person, the main thing doesn't stay the main. And by the time you get to a place where you notice, a lot of times it's too late. It's already too late. A lot of times it's gotten so big that it's a huge problem, versus in the beginning of it, when there was a small instance or a small indifference, and chose not to look at it. And I think intuition can give not just women. Let me preface this. I think intuition also comes with a blind eye, and I think that we choose to see what we want to see, and I choose that we respond to what we want to respond to. And because of those things, we stay in those places until it becomes toxic or unreal or unmanageable. And by the time you get there, well, let's fix this, so explosive that there's so much damage that most people come back. And so what's significant about it all is that when you see a problem, when you see something, say something, right? Because by the time you get to the counselor's office, most counselors will tell you, hey, this is probably a wrap. You know, you should have came here a long time ago. Because all it is just emotional vomit that just comes out, you know. And had we paid attention to the other person in their unhappiness, you know, all that other stuff, those second and third order effects probably wouldn't have happened. We were in, you know, had been intentional enough about how I love my wife or how my wife loves me, giving those things back to each other and not just, you know, turn that blind eye, which we choose to do. Lazy love. I think that's how these things build up. And even though we have that intuition, we're choosing not to give what we say, this is my forever, not to give it the time and attention that we need, even though our inner sense has given us these warnings. It's like, you know, leaving for work and you notice that you need gas in your car and you ride right by the gas station because all you want to do is get to work. Who can you be mad at when you run out of gas on the highway, right? You pass the opportunities to fix things. And inside relationships, even though we are alerted by our intuition, which intuition is a great thing, it's an amazing thing, we are alerted by it, we choose to just, you know, blow past the red light or blow past the gas station instead of stopping and filling up.
So it goes back to what you say. We choose to deal with the parts that we want to and avoid the parts that we don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
So all right. So I think that the next episode should be about creating a safe space. The importance of creating a safe space and being in an unsafe space or having a partner that's unsafe. Something similar to that. I think we should follow back up next Tuesday with that. That's my thought.
I also think that I don't know her name. Who's Miss Pam? Miss Pam. I think she touched on something that really should be talked about. I think that we should have our own self, be honest with ourselves. Say, am I healed or whole enough to do this? Have that honest conversation with ourselves. Because relationship with somebody else and you haven't had that conversation with yourself, then we're both deceiving each other. But when we do, like, hey, am I really safe? Am I really whole enough for myself alone to be okay with it? You know, I think that's a whole nother thing that we should get into as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I also think that we need to address people who are in relationships who are just going through the motions. A lot of times people are even in marriages where they're going through the motions, they are numb. So intuition is not even a thing because they're numb. They're numb to their own emotions. So of course they're going to be numb to their spouses or their relationship, other partners' emotions. People have shut down emotionally and they sleep next to each other every night. Yeah, they go to church, every Sunday. Yeah, they doing all these things in routine and aren't even in touch with each other anymore on an emotional level. So a lot of times intuition is not even a thing. You may see something happening right in front of your face, but if you numb to just your own emotions and your own just thing that your body is telling you, that your mind, your heart is telling you, you're not going to be able to pick up on this man and what he may be feeling or that he's hurting or anything like that. So a lot of times people, just like Max said, people need to be whole before they're getting with other people. And so in this time right now, we're finding, it's great that you can go on TikTok and Instagram and see all these people that's now promoting wholeness and healthy relationship with yourself and emotional intelligence. That's great. But a lot of these people have been in relationships for 10, 12 years. And you know what I'm saying? That's already past. They're not emotionally whole, so we're dealing with a big majority of people who are in relationships that are just going through emotions. And that's unfortunate.
I totally agree. Mr. Aaron says many times people don't realize it's unsafe until an argument or disagreement presents itself.
And why is that? That happens because we're so anxious to be in relationship
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we don't anymore, we don't spend time courting and dating one another long enough to see that
Mm-hmm.
person in every emotional aspect it is that life offers us before you decide
Mm-hmm.
to settle with
To
someone.
be
You
with that
haven't seen
person.
them angry, you haven't seen them grieve, you haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen them,
Mm-hmm.
upset, you haven't seen them, lose all of these things that life is going to present to us. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen any of those things. We haven't seen them with the mask off. All you've met is their representative, and you decided
Mm.
to marry someone based off of the representative that you met. And then once you get
Child.
into the relationship, now the mask come off and you see the real person. You're like, what in the world? It's kind of like you meet somebody in the club and they are drop dead gorgeous, and you like, yeah, yeah, I'm pursuing that. And when you wake up the next morning, you see a totally different person. You like, wait a minute, where is Tamara? And I am Tamara. No, you not. You ain't the person I met. Yeah, you meeting the representative. So we got to learn how to spend, and that goes back to doing your work, getting to know you, knowing who
Mm-hmm.
you are, knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, this thing is so layered, man. But
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
it
So
all goes
so
back to knowing yourself and knowing who you are and what you
Can I
so
want.
so
add to this though? Sometimes you don't even know what you're dealing with. You don't know what has been buried for so long and so deep until you are in a relationship with someone. Being
right.
in a relationship can
That's
provoke,
true.
and so it could be unsafe momentarily because a person is provoking another person to deal with who they are. I didn't even know this was in me. Some things will come up that you didn't even know were there, or you thought you had dealt with them and that you were fine with it. But now here's another layer of that thing. And so you can be in a relationship with someone that does not challenge you. They don't challenge your growth. So therefore, you're not growing. And then again, you can be with someone that does challenge you. And because it challenges you, it will make you uncomfortable. You want to run. I'm pretty good at that, or I was pretty good at that. Let me say that I was past tense. Um, and so what looks like an unsafe situation is not necessarily unsafe. It's
Right.
challenging.
Yeah. But
And
see
that's the
that
one
that's
thing I
why
was
that's
gonna
why. Go ahead, bro.
that's the one thing I was gonna say. You took the words right out of my mouth. Um what do we what is our definition of unsafe? What do we see as being unsafe?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Because just like you said, like you could be comfortable in a relationship, nobody's challenging you, nothing is causing you to grow, but then you got somebody to come to actually challenge you, it becomes unsafe and uncomfortable for you now. So now what do I do? If it's unsafe for me to run like I've been doing in the past when I get challenged.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yet this is a safe space for me to grow. They're challenging me to grow. So yeah, I get it. And then and then also the other layer that Chancey talking about is, yeah, a lot of us don't spend the time to learn and court and go through arguments and disagreements to see the individual. But then some of us are so like Chap was saying and Tam was saying, some of us are not healed to the point to where we feel like, well, we gonna be ride or die, whether it's, unsafe or not. When we get in these arguments and this joker done turn into the Incredible Hulk or whatever the case may be, like, you know what I'm saying, we still stay there because of our past, because of we don't think we deserve anything greater. You see what I mean? So it's a lot of different nuances to.
I, I, I think what finds it the most, when you are able to be vulnerable and that person doesn't disregard what you've gone through or what you're willing to share, you drop your wall and give somebody something, and they don't weapon. they actually, you know, they check on those spaces in your life that have affected you the most. Those are safe spaces, and those are places that we should create for the person. But if you take that and you weapon, you know, my vulnerability, then that's unsafe, right? And like Ms. Ingram was saying, there's a distinct difference between being challenged and feeling safe. You know,
Yeah.
Most people love challenge, and you're gonna either say amen or say out. You're gonna run, or you're gonna go with that thing, right? But when you are talking about creating a safe space, that means I can tell you what happened to me as a child, or when I went through this, or I went through X, and later on when there's a disagreement, that person has discipline enough to let the reason that you used all the ketchup be enough, right? And not take what you have shared with them and galvanize that and use that against you. And so it all ties back into your, I think we said it in the beginning, how our intuition can kind of through, tainted lenses because of those kind of scenarios. I gave you something that I thought I could trust you with, and you use it against me. And so two totally different things, but they tie in together when it comes to how I see people now. Because the first thing I think is, can I tell him? Can I tell her? I know what happened the last time. I'm still using my intuition, but I still don't feel unsafe because of what happened to me. And they're two different things. The other thing I want to say is it's possible to evolve out of those places. It's just because I don't think people stay married 50 years and we were safe the whole time. I just don't believe that statistically. I think that both people are intentional enough to see that, hey, we got a problem and let's fix it.
Yeah, man.
That's
Yes,
good.
sir. Yes, sir.
Tam,
Yes,
you got
sir.
anything before we get ready to close? We got 5 minutes.
So definitely the piggyback on what Max said, I think the key is vulnerability. If you're able to be vulnerable with that person or if you're not. And that will tell you automatically if you're in a safe space with this person or not. And it's just that vulnerable. That's the key word.
Yeah, man. And this is why it's so important for us to have
Will tell you automatically if
counseling, and prayer. You got to have both. They go hand in
that part.
hand, and not just counseling in and of itself, but you got to have the right counselor who's going to dig down to the root and get you to the bottom of your stuff so you can work your way back up so that when you get into a relationship, you're not looking for that other person to be your fix. You know what I'm saying? Many times we get into relationships looking at somebody else who got all this stuff together, and because they're together, you think that's gonna help you get it together. When you haven't done your work, you haven't put your time in building. When you go to them, you need to be a complete person. Don't nobody complete you. You gotta come to the relationship complete. And two complete people, man, we can do some things together.
Yeah.
But one person that's broken and another person that's got it going on, all you're gonna do is either pull that person down, or they're gonna leave trying to fix you because that's not their responsibility. I know we got to go.
Hey, so real quick before we go, question: does disagreeing mean unsafe? Before we go,
No.
we gotta answer that real quick.
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay, can somebody elaborate for a few seconds?
Chap just did.
Huh?
Chap just did.
Okay.
Sometimes we really do have to change our perspective because that's what we thought for so long. Just because I disagree, you know what? It's over. It can't be worked out. This is unsafe.
Mhm.
I don't feel vulnerable. That's not. We have to be mature enough and adult enough to know that a disagreement doesn't mean it's over. That a disagreement doesn't mean it's unsafe. I like the word that Chap used, which was weaponizing. Please don't weaponize my vulnerability. Don't weaponize the fact that I'm being open to you. Don't weaponize any information that I've given to you. Because if you do all that, you will create an unsafe space. You're going to cause either or, the man or the woman, whomever, to shut down. And so now you're going back to square one, whereas possibly you were progressing and now you're regressing because you're weaponizing information that's been given to you.
Yeah, I like to use it. Oh, go ahead, Tamara. Go ahead.
I think what can happen in disagreements can be the difference between whether or not it's unsafe. Because see, people can disagree amicably, can say, well, I can agree to disagree. But there are also times in a disagreement, somebody is popping off to the level of, and then that's when it becomes unsafe. So I think that we can have disagreements, but there are times when there's a line that's crossed and disagreements do become unsafe. And that is just because how that person is responding to the disagreement at that time.
Yeah, and like Chap, I like to use analogies. So when I'm talking to couples, I use what I call heated fellowship. You got to always remember that in the heated fellowship, we're allies. You and I are allies. It's us against the enemy. It's us against the situation. It's us against the thing. I'm not looking at you as my opposition, you as my enemy. You're my ally. So whether we disagree about something or not, we're going at it together as a team, as one. So never look at your significant other as your enemy, but your ally.
Woo. That's a big thing.
That's good. That's good.
That's huge.
And the conclusion of the matter, remember that we are allies. Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, my dude Aaron say I'll pop off sometime. Let's go.
Does your mate pop off with you when you pop off?
Oh man. So hey, thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna close out and we ask you guys to tune back in. Tamara, you gonna be able to get on next week?
Yeah. I'll make sure I'm not cooking.
Miss Ingrid, what about you? We're gonna talk about these being safe in relationships. Miss Ingram, will you be able to next week?
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Somewhere. Jeez, yes.
Okay. All right, let's close out. If you don't mind, close us out in prayer, Miss Ingram. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tune back in next week. Appreciate it.
Got the Baptist finger up. Do you remember I prayed us in?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Yes, ma'am, I do. I remember.
Okay. Okay, I was just wondering. I just wanted a subtle reminder. Okay. Father, we thank you so much again for who you are. We thank you, oh God, for how you are constantly working in us and on us, God. We pray, God, that for all those that have tuned in today, God, that something was said, oh God, that would provoke them to think deeper, to think harder, to do self-evaluations, God, not be afraid to say that this is where I'm falling short at, God, not being afraid, oh God, to come to you simply how they are and allowing you to do the work. We thank you, oh God, for you just being great. And we thank you, oh God, again for choosing us, God, to be witnesses in this land, oh God, that you can use anybody to get your work done. We thank you for all things being said and done. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Y'all have a good night, good week.
Amen.
Bless
Thank you.